Hey folks, Dust here, and I wanted to discuss Apex Legends a little bit more. As you may have seen, I put out a video where I did some initial impressions of the game and just really talked about how impressed I was with it, how smooth the launch was, the fashion in which they launched the game, how well they nailed the fundamentals of a Battle Royale with all the basic mechanics, all the cool little features they had that I kind of wanted in other Battle Royale games but didn't really get, and now we have it in this game, how they did the Legend system, how they did cosmetics, and really just kind of talking through all that. But in this video, I wanted to talk about some initial tweaks I think the game could use to make it just a little bit better. I don't want to make any drastic changes right now because the game is still very early on, and I don't really want to mess with balancing or anything like that too much. And developers of this game have done a fantastic job on their own, really without any type of community feedback. I mean, they developed this thing in secret, which is kind of the feedback of, influencers and top level players from other, Battle Royale games and stuff like that. So it seems like they already have a really good philosophy on where they want this game to go. But this is just kind of some more quality of life things I think would really help out the game and maybe a little bit of balancing stuff. So that's kind of what I want to do with this video. I'm going to make it short. Maybe I'll do future tweak videos if it makes sense to, but just wanted to start off with a couple here in this video. And also, just to those of you from Apex Legends who have no idea who the fuck I am, just quickly introduce myself to those of you out there. Many people who watch this probably follow me from Counter-Strike, so they already know who I am, but for those of you who don't, I've worked in the Counter-Strike community as a commentator, desk analyst, interviewer, content creator, writer, all these different things from that community. And, I've worked with different companies that you may have heard of, like E-League, DreamHack, MLG, Gfinity, Star Ladder, PGL. I mean, the list goes on with companies I've done events for online and offline, on site, and things of that nature. So that's kind of the background I'm coming from. I have an esports focus. I've worked in that for a while in kind of a front-facing role. And Apex Legends is a game that's kind of captivated me. There's some other games I've enjoyed in the Battle Royale genre in particular, but none of them have really kind of captivated me the same way that Apex Legends has, and that's why I want to kind of do some content for it. So without further ado, now I've kind of introduced this whole thing, let's jump into game and talk a little bit about some of the tweaks I think the game could use. The first couple of tweaks I'd like to make to the game is just a couple of little tweaks to the UI system here on the game. And I'm not 100% sure what the limitations are with the in-game UI based on how it works with Origin and how the game has its own system and all that good stuff. But I would love to be able to see a little bit more information about the people playing. I'd like to know if I can invite them or not. Obviously since they're playing Apex Legends, but are they at the main menu? Are they in a game? If they are in a game, how many people are they already partied with? Because that can kind of let me know whether or not I can invite them and their friend to play with me if I'm on my own, or if they are playing with just two and they have a random third, maybe I could fill in that third slot on their party. It'd be easier for me to know, where they're at, what their situation is, and what I can then do. And just let me know how far along they are in the game. That way I can kind of have a brief idea on when they might be finished so I don't bother them, something like that. Because otherwise you're just kind of throwing random invites and just kind of seeing what the hell happens. It's like fishing, you're blind, right? Like you don't really know it's going to happen, and it would be cool to have some more information so that you can kind of have better expectations on all that good stuff. So I'd love to have more information on this friends list for those purposes. Also, when it comes to this, I think it'd be nice if you could maybe see who you recently played with. That way, if you had a good experience with that player, maybe you could add them to your friends list to play with them in the future. Just little things like that I think would increase the quality of life of playing this game. Again, I can't know if there's any limitations to that because of how it ties in with Origin and all that good stuff, but just something I thought about. And then another option, which I've heard floating around, which makes sense, is could you just keep your party? If you solo queue or you and a friend play and you get a good third, whatever the case may be, and you want to just keep playing with that person, it'd be nice to have an option to just kind of click a button that kept you guys all in the same party. And, that would just be a nice little quality of life change as well. So that's just a couple of things I like to change with the UI. Now we'll actually hop into a game and play a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the things I'd like to see. I'm going to use the tutorial mode just because it's easier for me to get my hands on guns and ammo and kind of shoot and kind of talk you through it. Alright, so first off, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but as I played it through this tutorial to get to this point, I just thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if you went to training it to play through the whole tutorial all over again? What if I just wanted to come to this spot and practice shooting at the gun range, practice my recoil pattern or something like that, or just kind of look at some quick stats or something? I feel like you should be able to get straight to this point without having to go through the tutorial, whether that be a separate practice mode with a separate map that has even more stuff in these targets and things that make sense. I think it would be really neat to be able to do that. So that is kind of one thing I want to talk about. Then to get into some more gameplay stuff, bro, the microphone quality in this game is really bad. It's really awful, especially for how well polished everything else in this game, how good it looks, how good it feels, how good it plays. The fact that the microphone is so bad, it just, I don't know, man, that really irks me. Like, hopefully that's something they can fix pretty quickly. It's just getting the microphone quality in this game better. That way it's easier to communicate. I know there's some limitations always on how good the person's microphone is that's actually trying to talk in game. But, I mean, I have a pretty good quality microphone that I use to record videos with, and it sounds good in other games, but in this game, it just doesn't sound right. So hopefully that's something that can be fixed. So first thing is, I feel like these grenade trails are too good. I almost feel like there should be a little bit more skill involved in landing a grenade accurately, and the fact that I know exactly where, you know, something's going to land is, to me, just a little bit too powerful. You know, like, that was just so easy for me to land a grenade on this moving thing from a pretty decent distance. So I do wonder if maybe the grenade trails are a little bit too powerful, and maybe we should nerf that just a little bit. I mean, I know it's not totally accurate. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't go as far as it says it's going to. You have to kind of like run and jump to do it. But I don't know, it just feels really easy to place grenades, and I wish they were a little bit more skill-based. But to me, it's not a big deal. It can stay that way, but just a little tweak I thought about. Going to here, the Mozambique, I just feel like is really bad. Like, yeah, it does 45 damage from a, you know, pretty decent distance away on these targets, and that's actually not too bad a damage for base damage, but I still feel like I would almost rather any other gun than the Mozambique. And you know what? Maybe we don't necessarily need to change this. You know, I feel as though not every gun has to be viable. I mean, almost every other gun is quite good in this game, but yeah, this feels a little underwhelming. The other thing I really want to talk about when it comes to weapons, because I think the weapon balance in this game is actually quite good, and again, I don't want to make any big changes, and that is something really irks me about the longbow versus the wingman. And the reason for that is that obviously this gun does, you know, 45 damage base, and then a headshot's 90, right? And you can shoot it pretty fast. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you shoot it super fast, maybe it takes a little bit more time to get used to how it works and how to continue to land shots accurately. But, I mean, you can pop off shots pretty fast, hit it, you know, 45 damage a hit. You get 6 bullets in a clip. The longbow, though, only gets 5 bullets of damage per magazine without getting some type of upgrade. It only does 55 base damage compared to the 45 base damage of a wingman, and it has a way slower rate of fire in between shots. And in general, you know, there's a little bit more ability because of that for recovery. If you miss your first shot, the wingman, you get a second shot pretty quickly afterwards to adjust with. Whereas with the longbow, if you miss your first shot, you're kind of waiting a second to be able to get that next shot in. So to me, I'm not sure if it's just the longbow's fire rate is too underwhelming, if its damage is a little bit underwhelming, or what it is, or if the wingman's a little bit too overpowered because its rate of fire and the ability to be accurate with it with a high rate of fire at closer ranges is a little bit too powerful, or the damage a little bit too much, or maybe the magazine size. I just feel like there's something here where I don't know why I would really choose a longbow over a wingman unless if I'm fighting in extreme ranges, right? Obviously, you know, you can put, you know, like a 4 to an 8x or even higher than that on a longbow and be able to, you know, shoot at people really, really far away if you're really good with adjusting for bullet drop and things of that nature. But, I mean, you can get up to a 2x on a wingman and still get some pretty nice far distance shots off with it if you're good. And, you know, at that point, the only thing the longbow is good for over the wingman is a little bit more damage and the fact that it can shoot from a good bit further away, I guess. It just feels like for this gun to be the main sniper of the game because of how rare the Kraber is, I almost sometimes find myself just not running it at all and just running like R301 in a Peacekeeper. Just because I feel like the R301 actually still is really effective at longer ranges just because of how much of a laser beam it is and how, you know, decent the EPS is. Obviously, damage per bullet isn't anything compared to a longbow, but the amount of bullets I can shoot out in a short amount of time and how accurate I can be with that, I mean, I almost rather use that at a longer range. Or, to be honest with you, I almost rather use the Scout. I mean, yeah, it does less damage, but the fire rate's so much better, and because of that, I just feel like I would rather use this. I mean, I can pop off shots so much faster with this than a longbow. And yeah, it does less damage, but again, I think the overall DPS is certainly going to be higher for this. And it's more forgiving if you miss a shot. I don't know, man. Something to me about the longbow just feels off. And the fact that the wingman, to me, is almost better in every respect except for distance. And even the Scout, to me, feels like I would rather use it than the longbow. I think either the longbow needs a little bit of buffing, maybe the wingman needs a little bit of nerfing, maybe a little bit of both. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel. So folks, that's going to do it for this video. I didn't want to talk about a ton of different changes to the game because, again, I feel like the game's already in a really good place. I think it is quite well balanced with the weapons and legends and things of that. As there's just a couple of small little tweaks I thought maybe could be used now to adjust the weapons, or a couple of weapons at least a little bit, to make things a little bit better. And then yeah, just some quality of life stuff when it comes to a better practice mode, a better UI when it comes to figuring out what your friends are up to and inviting people and adding people you've recently played with, and keeping a party, and just kind of little things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe for more content. Catch you next time.